Some state lawmakers say they believe there's a way to fund the MTA and make the transit experience better for riders. The group is calling a legislative plan the Fix the MTA package. It consists of multiple bills planned for introduction in the next legislative session in January. There are several major components. They would freeze fares for subway rides at the current price of $2.75. They would try to achieve headways of 6 minutes or better in the subway. And they would want 20% more frequent bus service. Local buses, this is a key thing, local buses would be free, something Washington, D.C. has been moving toward recently. Each of these initiatives does come with a price tag, of course, those price tags ranging from $200 to $700 million a year. There would also be a one-time payment proposed of $500 million to cover new operating costs. Queens State Assemblymember Zohran Mamdani unveiled this proposal at a news conference yesterday.
10-minute waits for subways, buses that crawl at 5 miles an hour. Standing alone on a platform has become all too regular of an occurrence. And so today we are here to say that we are not simply going to fill that deficit, we are going to fix the MTA.
And another supporter of the plan is Queens State Senator and Deputy Senate Majority Leader Michael Gianaris. The senator's with us now. Like everything around the MTA, a lot of this involves money. How much money are we talking, and can we afford it?
Well, you had the numbers on the screen, right? So all told, it's less than $2 billion for all of the package we're talking about, which is, in this context of the state budget, less than 2% of what we're dealing with, which is not to say it's nothing. We've got to find the money. But one of the things we're trying to do is kind of shake the conversation around the MTA, because for too long we've just been putting Band-Aids on the problem, and we haven't given the kind of bold ideas a chance to take hold, which would really increase ridership, get people back on the trains and buses.
Yeah, it's really a new way of thinking that you're proposing, and it's similar to some of these initiatives in this new New York report that the governor and the mayor unveiled yesterday, which is the idea that the MTA is a public service. It's what allows the city to operate, and maybe it should be funded by broader tax revenue rather than by trying to collect the $2 or $3 or $4 or $5 at the fare box.
Exactly right. And who bears the burden of covering this public service that's obviously necessary for New York to function? If you're putting it on the backs of the working people, the people that are having trouble affording to live in this expensive city as it is, you're not really achieving very much. However, if you're talking about the people who have the money in this city, big corporations whose workers use mass transit to get to work, who are trying right now to get everybody back in their offices after the pandemic, this is something that would obviously accrue to benefit to them, and it's something that the entire city should bear. When
we were talking to the people in Washington, D.C. about their free transit plan, one of the things that we were talking about is there a you get what you pay for mentality? If the bus is free, can you complain when the bus doesn't show up on time?
Right, and who's going to be responsible for taking care of everything at that point?
Well, the people who are responsible now would continue to be responsible. The idea is not to impose a burden on the MTA that's not funded. The idea is to find a way to fund these services and increase the services in a way that makes sense. And it's not just Washington, D.C., but Boston has implemented a pilot program in part of its city. They saw ridership go up almost 40% when you had free buses. And we're struggling to get people back on mass transit, out of their cars, into the buses, onto the trains. This is a great way to do it and really change the conversation.
We asked the MTA about this, and they've only just gotten a look at your plan. Are there indications that they would be able to go along with this? Is it just a matter of funding from their perspective?
I think they are more focused on the immediate crisis they're facing, and they just want to get money in the door to plug their budget holes. I understand that, but I think that's been the problem and the approach we've taken over the last several decades is we're just putting fingers in the dike right now and trying to stop the water from flowing through, when we should think about just rebuilding the whole thing and make it a system that could be world-class.
How does congestion pricing fit into the funding for this and the overall mentality that if there's a good transit system, maybe there's not the same need for people to be in private cars?
Well, the congestion pricing plan, which I support and I hope moves forward, is really geared towards providing funding for a lot of the capital costs the MTA has, which is kind of in a different basket. I think it's taken too long to implement because it serves a dual purpose of providing funding to the MTA and also hopefully relieving the congestion that's plaguing Manhattan particularly. It has been way too slow.
I do want to ask you about another topic. You've got your name behind this puppy mill legislation. It looks like it is moving forward. Where does somebody acquire a pet if not from a pet store that's authorized to sell them?
They can go to a shelter and adopt one of the hundreds or thousands of animals that are sitting there waiting for adoption, who are in need. These are great animals in need of help. If someone wants a particular breed, they have an allergy, they have just a desire to have a particular breed, they can still deal directly with breeders, which allows the person who's about to adopt or purchase this pet to see what's going on at these facilities with their own eyes. Part of the problem is the retail shops are essentially laundering the mill industry by having the cute puppy in the window, and nobody knows where it came from or the abuses that have happened to get that puppy there.
So the idea is to get that one-on-one contact with somebody who's breeding a dog, rather than have this mystery about where the pet came from.
I promise you, if someone goes to a puppy mill and sees the horrible conditions that these animals are living, they would not be doing business with them. But when it goes through a retail shop, they don't see that, and they don't know what's involved.
Senator, thanks for coming in this morning.